if I'm the full, authentic version of myself, I will not fit in with my family. Let's say that's a fact. Now, after however many years, whether you're watching or listening, whatever your experience has been, now you know that. Now what do? Is it more valuable and more important to you to stay in 100% alignment or see your family? Let's figure out what those percentages are, and then everything from there is personal and up to you.
There's no way I can do this. I have to change who I am to make this work. And if you have to change who you are to achieve your goals, you might have the wrong goals. And if you have to change who you are to be in a relationship, you might have the wrong relationship. And that is what I would end with.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. Today, for episode number 1953, would you rather be good at success or good at love? So, if you're an NLU-inian, which is just like an NLU community member, be proud of us, because we said we were going to do a part 2 to what does it mean to lean into it, and we are actually doing it. And that's rare, because usually we forget, something comes up, it's like, oh yeah, are we supposed to talk about something specific? No, I don't think so. Okay, what are you going through? So kind of when we got towards the end of yesterday's episode, we were talking about how, leaning into it means a lot of different things to a lot of different people in a lot of different ways and a lot of different scenarios. And one of the things that we were talking about that I think was a breakthrough for Alan was some people need to... It was like, what do you change about yourself versus what do you lean into not changing about yourself, and authenticity and all this stuff. And then after, I think, you might have said on the episode, it might have been after, you were talking about success and love and how sometimes the things that make you more successful, when you lean into them, they hurt your love, and then vice versa. And we were like, all right, let's do an episode on that. If I missed anything, let me know.
Brother, if you asked me prior to meeting Emilia, I remember there was one time you, myself, and a couple team members, I remember I was in the gym parking lot and we were doing a post-live podcast. We used to do a live podcast every week where we would stream it live on StreamYard onto Facebook and LinkedIn and blah, blah. And we would always do a session with the team afterwards and assess what was good, what was not so great, how could we do better. Most important win, most important improvement, even though we didn't call it that back then. It was usually mostly just improvements. AKA, give Alan massive, terrible feedback and tell Kevin how awesome he is.
I got good feedback. 9 out of 10 pretty much every week. I'll tell you.
Great job, Kev.
In
Alan,
retrospect,
you kind of suck.
That doesn't help you grow.
Get better. Yeah. So I was going through it, and I was alone. This was prior to meeting Emilia. And you sensed a lot of lack of confidence in me when it came to finding a partner, an intimate partner. And you said something along the lines of, it makes sense that you're so confident with success, but you're not confident in intimate relationships because you've just never succeeded yet. You're almost 30, you're still alone. And he was kinder than that, but it's true. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't think I've never realized how unconfident I am when it comes to finding an intimate partner and sustaining it long term. And I now realize in hindsight, I'm 36 now, and this was back when I was, I think, 28 or 29. Of course I'm not confident in finding an intimate partner when and I said this on Book Club earlier, when you're and everyone out there watching or listening, if you're on the very extreme of any bell curve, like on the very, very, very high end or very, very, very low end of any statistical bell curve, you're basically weirder than other people. And you belong less. It's harder to belong. It's harder to belong. And in hindsight, it makes sense why I feel not confident in relationships. Because if I look back the last 36 years, I've always felt very confident in my ability to achieve. Academics came fairly easy. College, I wanted to graduate with high distinction. I did. I got my bachelor's degree, and that was definitely not easy because computer engineering was one of the hardest fucking things I've ever done. Oh my goodness. However, I graduated with high distinction, and then I got my master's in business. That came really easy. I don't know if that's because it's easier. I think it is, but it's also because I feel like business is a natural way I think. But everything achievement-wise, even fitness, has come reasonably easy to me. I'm a tall, lanky guy, so it's hard for me to build muscle. But overall, I figured it out. It's a formula. You just run the formula. I realize now, in my more mature years, that Kev was always on the side of empathy when it came to understanding why people aren't more successful. For me, it never really made a lot of sense why people didn't follow through and why they didn't figure it out, and why, because I grew up with goals and dreams, and everyone around me seemed to have these other big goals and dreams. And as we got older and older and older, and Kevin in our 30s, early 30s, mid 30s, blah, 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 we would talk, and it's like, dude, are you surprised at how few people achieved the dreams they set out to? And he's like, no, I didn't. I think, that's normal. And I'm sitting there going, I don't understand. Why aren't more people achieving their dreams? I feel like we're achieving ours. Like, what makes us different, right? And now in hindsight, I know what's different. Some people are really good at the science of achievement. They're really good at the ability to be, it's known as conscientiousness. It's organization, prudence, diligence, work ethic, perfectionism, formula, self-discipline. It's someone who's very on point, dialed in. That's why my relationship with Emilia, this is the first time where I have very high degrees of certainty. Now, I'm going to stay humble because I don't want to end up at the top of the mountain not in love, so I got to stay humble. But I have a lot of certainty that Emilia and I will work. Way more than I ever have in any intimate relationship. It's not close.
What percentage?
But I know why.
What's the percentage?
99.9. Okay. Yeah, 99.9. It would rock my world to have anything go wrong with her that would actually break us up, because we're both so growth oriented and so perfect for each other. And quite frankly, we were so miserable with other people. I mean, I know I'm the right man for her. I can just tell. She's like me, I'm like her, but she's the feminine version, I'm the masculine version. And I won't go too far into this, but I feel like she's feminine conditioned masculine. I'm masculine conditioned feminine. That's a whole nother episode. But now we're kind of growing into our manhood and womanhood together. It's been really wonderful, especially coaching other couples. It's been really cool. But I have 99.9% certainty. With my past relationships, dude, it felt like I had to change who I was to make them work.
Yep.
And you, from the moment you met Taryn, the second go around, which you can tell the story, you are like, dude, I'm not worried about it. Like, I'm not concerned. I know I'll make it work. It's going to work. And you've always had more confidence than me in relationships and when it came to people. And I've always had more confidence than you when it came to external achievement. And I think we're starting to finally understand why that is. And so the last wrap up here before I let Kev talk, three versions of you, everyone out there watching or listening. Version 1 is you're really, really, really good at external achievement. And you feel very confident in your career and in your ability to succeed. But if you were really honest with yourself, you feel different, and you feel like succeeding in relationships does not come naturally. The second one is you really, if you were honest with yourself deep down, are very uncertain about your future, uncertain about your career, uncertain about, whether or not you're going to be able to make enough money to provide for your family and your future and your grandkids and all that stuff. And you feel very helpless and hopeless when it comes to your career and where to go and next moves to make. And you feel like you struggle with self-discipline, and you feel like you can't get yourself to do hard things and blah, blah, blah. But you feel like you fit in naturally, and you feel like you're likable, and most people like you, and you get along pretty easily. And you feel like relationships come pretty easy to you. And then the third bucket, and this is the really scary one, is where you feel like you suck at both. And that's a really scary one to be in. And I don't think I've ever been in that one, but I do know some people that feel in that one, and I feel for you. And if you need help, we're here for you on the success. I'll be here for you on the success side, and Emilia and I can be there for you on the relationship side, more her than me. But I know that some people feel helpless in both, and that's got to be a dark place.
Been there. I know. From my frame, because I said this before, I said, Alan, I don't think I was as good at relationships as you think early on. He said, well, think about friendships, not intimate. It's like, okay, that's different.
And I'm comparing to how bad I was.
Yeah. Well, I wasn't. I mean, when I think back to like, dude, when I think back to like when I was working at the hospital, I didn't feel like I could even find anybody to be in a relationship with. So the ones I had, the first serious relationship I ever had was, I think, 5 years. I'm like a serial long-term relation person. Like I never really dated around. Like that was never really something I wanted to do. But I think one of the reasons is because it always felt so hard to find someone. So when I found someone, here's
was it hard to find someone or was it hard to attract someone?
Both.
Because for me, it felt like it was hard to find the right person and then sustain it. It was always easy in the beginning.
No, it wasn't easy for me in the beginning. No. Well, look, I mean, you have more, you check more of the boxes than I do. I mean, really think about it. When you were out going to colleges and having successful college degrees, that wasn't my experience.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have a lot to it's so sad to say. I didn't have that much to offer. I was a good person, but good it doesn't get you you don't get many points for being a good person.
I think long term you do. I don't think you do short term, yeah, especially not with young men and women.
But I mean,
when you're young, being a good person isn't as valued, unfortunately.
If we were to have a real conversation, and again, not from a place, just a real logical conversation. If I'm 35 and I'm working at the gas station like I was when I was 17, that is going to exclude you from a lot of romantic opportunities.
Of course. Yeah, and that's just a real conversation. I appreciate the honesty. That's true.
And right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. Like, who am I? You do what you want to do. But there's going to be less people that say, yeah, I'll give that a go. / and again, blanket statement, / the people that do say, I'm willing to give that a go, might be in a similar situation. Right?
Yeah.
Maybe they work at a job that they feel is not the best thing for them long term, and it doesn't provide a lot of opportunities or whatever it is. So I felt it was the attraction and the finding.
Well, let's go to friendships, though, because one time Kevin and I, we were at a Father's Day barbecue together. We would always go fishing on Father's Day.
I didn't want to be there. It wasn't my choice, but we were there.
I've brought Kevin many places he didn't want to go. Some good, some not so good.
50-50.
It's my bad. 50-50. Yeah, not terrible. It's a good shooting percentage from three land. It's a basketball reference. Okay, so we're at a barbecue, and we had just interviewed a man named Steven Kotler, who wrote the book The Art of Impossible. Shout out to Brandon, who got us that interview. One of my favorite interviews ever of all time. Just an awesome book. World-class book. Unbelievable book. I just recommended it to my client, Christy. Shout out to you. And we just got off that interview, and I think it was the next weekend or the weekend after or something, and that was a big moment for Kevin and I when we learned how different we were. Because I fully showed all of who I am from the peak performance. The Art of Impossible is basically the science of achievement for people who want to achieve something that's never been done. And it's called Little I Impossible, leading to the compound effect of Big I Impossible. It's an awesome book, but we had already implemented a lot of the strategies in that book, and I got to geek out with Steven Kotler about world-class performers and Olympic athlete level dialed in stuff. And Kev was sitting there kind of going, oh, okay, this is not comfortable for me.
I was pushing the make joke button. Make joke, make joke, make joke, make joke.
And it makes sense in hindsight, but at the time I was just nerding out with him. And then we were at a barbecue not long after that, and I said, Kev, I don't feel like I can be myself here. And Kev said, brother, I feel like I can't be fully myself with a Steven Kotler. And so that's when we really leaned in to the last episode we just did of Lean Into It. That's when I really leaned into, I am this achiever guy who is very dialed in, apparently, even though I don't really think I am. I definitely statistically am. And I'm going to lean into it, even though, people don't like me very much. And I struggle to be at barbecues because I basically am not allowed to talk about most of what I want to talk about. No one, imagine being at a barbecue and asking, what's your 10, 20, 30-year roadmap for achievement and success? I mean, no one wants to talk to me, right? So I'd rather just booze up a storm and pretend to be an idiot. That's what I used to do anyways, and I'm being playful with that. But honestly, I think that's a lot of it. And Kev's saying, well, I can easily be at a barbecue. Like, I have a blast. Play bags, whatever. Like, I can fit in here. No problem.
Love bags.
See, he
Huge
loves it.
fan.
So the last episode, we were trying to figure out, for some people, old Kev, felt like he had to change who he is in order to achieve his goals. I don't feel like I have to change who I am to achieve my goals, almost at all. I feel like I've had to change who I am to succeed in relationships. And I think that all of us are on one end or the other a little bit more. And I think there's good self-awareness to be had in that.
So many thoughts. What's a good example of this? I always use the video game analogy for this because I feel like it's one of the best visual representations. But if let's say you're playing a fighting game, and there's attributes. You have 100 points you can use.
What fighting game?
Any fighting game. Anyone where you can create a fighter. You can create your own custom fight. I play UFC, not the new one because I'm too cheap to buy it, but I play like the old UFC game, and I built a fighter. And my guy is a sniper. I have no ground skills. But if you stand on the feet with me, I'm going to knock you out every time. If you take me down, I'm going to die, probably. Potentially. That character, what do I need to do? I need to lean into the fact that I am a natural stand-up fighter, hypothetically, and I need to iron out... Striker, yeah. And I need to iron out the fact that my ground game is garbage. Authenticity is becoming more of the amazing pieces of you. The shoring up of the castle is working on the weaknesses. That is how I'm thinking about it. But hold on, I'm not done yet. I like barbecues so much. When Tara and I got married, well, we eloped in Colorado, and then we came back and we had a party at this like vineyard. And there was it was fucking awesome. There was a DJ, and Taryn did most of that. I can't take credit for almost any of that. If anything, I did not know how to support at that time. I didn't understand. I just didn't understand how to support. But we were playing bags. We were playing Can Jam. It was awesome.
That was fun.
5 years from now, I want to do the same thing just for fun. And it will cost money, and it's going to be a day that I don't work. I'd love to fly the team in or something. I know most of the team doesn't really party, but like, I feel like that would be so awesome.
You're funny, man.
I want to be able to do that. I enjoy that. I have fun. I went to Matt, my buddy Matt he had his it was his birthday and it was his engagement celebration. And the whole night, I was like, yo, we're going to bust out the bags or what? We're going to bust out the horseshoes or like, what are we doing? He's like, yeah, man, right after the next set of people gets here. We didn't play a fucking game the whole night.
Really?
We played Flip Cup.
Oh, come on.
Flip Cup.
What are we in high school?
Yeah, I want to play bags, baby. And I was so disappointed.
Yard games.
But to Alan's point, I essentially, by the end of the night, had made friends with everybody, but that's what happens when I drink. When I drink, I can make friends with anybody. I'm really good at making friends, especially with dudes. For some reason, I'm really good at making friends with dudes when I drink.
I want to share something with you real quick for the viewers and listeners, too.
You going to F me up with the truth?
A little bit.
Yeah.
I have a client who said, listen, I don't want to be unprofessional. I respect and I adore your coaching. I don't know if he used adore, but he said it means a lot to me. I'm going to come in a little buzzed on our next session. But there's a reason. Weirdest fucking message from a client. I know this person's listening. Love it. He said, I want you to see how much better of a communicator I am when I have a little buzz on. And I want you to study the difference, and maybe we can figure out what's going on, because he struggles to communicate effectively when he's got anxiety, social anxiety.
Yeah.
And when he has a little buzz, he doesn't have it. So he wants me to study it. I thought that was really cool.
Are you open to me exploring that on the podcast? 7 times a week.
What did you say? 7 times a week?
Every day. Yeah, every day. A little drinky poop.
Now that you say that, by the way, Kevin is wasted right now.
I'm wasted, hammered right now. That is, that's like a, if you're doing the best man speech, you take a shot. work the nerves off. Like, that's a thing. Yeah, it's a legitimate thing.
Yeah, that's a next level commitment to your growth. You want me to study you in a different state.
Respect. I don't know who that person is because Alan doesn't tell me. Alan's very private with client stuff, so your secrets are always safe. But shout out to you.
Yeah, it was an interesting, and I was like, dude, don't worry, I got you, and yeah, maybe don't get blasted.
Yeah, not more than one or two.
Yeah.
Point of all that.
Yeah.
There was a time in my life where I felt like I was really struggling with both, for sure. Not intimate relationships, yes, not friendships. Here's my thought. Where you are the least appreciated, you will be the least successful. Because if you go to a cookout, you are not appreciated. Unless the person's into growth. I think of the conversation after, right? Imagine me, little drunk, doing the worm around your front lawn, just having a blast making people laugh. One of two things is going to happen. People are going to leave. They're going to get in the car and be like, Kev, that was fun. We had a blast. That was a really good time. Or like, what the hell's wrong with Kev? It's going to be one of two things. So if you don't appreciate somebody that loves to have a ton of fun, you might not appreciate that. Same for you. You get in the car. Person who loves books, corporate America, working up the ladder, be like, you believe that? You believe Alan knew about the compound effect? Nobody ever talks to me about the compound effect. Rare, not going to happen a lot. Other side is like, who was that dude with the stick up his ass? Asking me my 30-year plans when I was drinking my Michelob Ultra. Who invited that dude? But it's because you're not appreciated. Opposite end. Okay. You invite me to a party that is filled with a bunch of business owners. Nobody is drinking. There aren't any games. They're hors d'oeuvres, whatever the hell they're called. People are dressed nicely. This is a fine event. You are probably going to get more appreciation than I do.
Yeah.
Those events are just way rarer. The likelihood of stumbling upon that is just way less.
This made me sad, and I don't want to make this about me, but
we only have 4 minutes, so you can make it about you for 1 minute.
For one of them. For everyone watching or listening, the part that made me sad, and I hope there's something in this for everybody, is I grew up in the environment you're talking about, but I was never suited for it. And I think that really caused me a lot of suffering.
Well, it taught you had to be somebody else. That.
Yeah.
I had some of that too in my childhood. I was like, fuck yeah. This is awesome. this is awesome. I love this. It wasn't the same, but like I remember going camping with some family friends when I was young, and I was like, this is awesome. Like the parents just got hammered and we're smoking weed. We were just like hanging out by the fire. I was like, this is great. I'm having a blast here. I'm having a blast.
Yeah. It is interesting too. Who you are will not be valued in the wrong environment. It just won't. It can't. I always say don't be a rapper at a country concert, right? It is interesting. And what happens when you grow up in an environment where who you are isn't valued?
You abandon yourself. You abandon what you value to get significance and appreciation from other people. And I think it creates a whole thing.
I remember I had this conversation with myself with a person that I was an ex-girlfriend who we were still hanging out. And I remember the day when I decided I can't do this anymore. And I asked myself a simple question, because at that point I had been really close with a couple people that were very into personal growth, Kevin being one of them. And I remember I asked myself, like, is this person who I supposedly want to spend the rest of my life with, she supposedly wants to spend the rest of her life with me, but again, we were both uncertain, obviously. Is she ever going to admire and appreciate the real me to the extent that Kevin does? And the answer wasn't no. It was fuck no. And I knew after that, it's like, I can't do this. There's no way I can do this. I have to like change who I am to make this work. And if you have to change who you are to achieve your goals, you might have the wrong goals. And if you have to change who you are to be in a relationship, you might have the wrong relationship. And that is what I would end with.
Next Level Nation, what is happening? If you've thought to yourself, I want to try coaching, but you don't really know where to start, group coaching would be a wonderful place for you. That's really why we created it in the first place. We start a new round every 90 days. So if you're hearing this, go to the website, nextleveluniverse.com, and we have the landing page where you can actually hold your spot right now. Even if there's a group going on right now, you can still lock your spot for the next one. The biggest thing that we've seen is as we get closer and closer to the date, unfortunately, some people end up missing. The group fills up and they can't do it, and then they end up regretting that. So please head over to the website. The link will be in the show notes, and we would love to see you there. I've had to change to stay in a relationship with you.
There goes my humdinger. It's so funny.
Yeah.
You're like,
Dial
hey,
that
you
back.
have 1 minute.
Well,
we don't have to go. I was wondering to myself, I was like, does he have a meeting? Because I don't.
Well, you did.
Christina and I rescheduled to next
Yeah,
week.
you did right after our last meeting, so I assumed maybe you'd come in and tell me. Hey, man,
I didn't.
I know you're obsessed with my calendar and usually know it better than I do. Just so you know,
It's a fair
no
assessment.
hard stop. No, it's all good.
No,
I've had to change who I am to stay in a relationship with you, but in a good way.
Yeah.
In a good way. This is the thought. You will and can change as long as you're changing in a way that brings you closer to alignment. That.
How do you know if you are? Right? Emilia's definitely helped me be more of me. That I'm certain of.
It allows you to strengthen the weaknesses that you're ready to work on. And you know you want to. You know you want growth. I think one of the reasons growth is so hard is because I don't know, man. Sometimes it feels like it has to happen at the right time. No, I don't mean that like. What's the? I don't mean there's like a quantum timing thing where it's like, okay, the universe is now I don't mean that. I mean something has to happen often before you're willing to look in the mirror. You know, the reason you and I would never work like this if I was in high school. No way. There's no way. I didn't have to. I hadn't looked at enough mirrors at that point. So I think that's a really big piece of it. And this is the other thing. And this is like, be very careful with this part. Just expanding on what I'm going to say. Being in a relationship with you is directly beneficial to me.
Why is that not true for everyone? Doesn't make any sense.
Because
I feel like
you
it's
and
beneficial to everyone.
No, you're a giant pain in the ass if they don't have, with love, if they don't have similar core values, core beliefs, and core aspirations. I don't want to be in a relationship with you if I'm insecure about myself and I don't believe that I can work on myself.
Yeah.
It's really hard because I know you're always going to push me to get better. Healthily.
But isn't that good for everyone? Like being pushed to be better, isn't that good for everyone long term?
Long
maybe
term,
it's a pain
yes.
in the ass, but of course it's good for everybody. Like
long
there's
term.
That's like saying, and again, I'm not. Let's take me out of the equation. Let's just imagine a metaphorical mentor that cares deeply about helping you reach your true potential. That's like saying, no, not for me.
It's like, people do that all the time. Yeah, people do that all the time.
That's a terrible idea.
It's not. I'm not saying it's a good idea.
Emilia said to me last night, we're on our walk, she said, I feel like people did try to tell me, like, and all the stuff we're learning now in our 30s. And she just turned 30 in October last year. And I was like, sweetheart, no one, she's like, I think other people tried to tell me, but like I wasn't ready to hear it. I'm like, sweetheart, no one told me any of this. I'm telling you, if we had a speaker who came to our high school like you and I, dude, I would have eaten it up. I'm telling you, no one was trying to tell me this stuff. Like, that whole thing of, I bet you, self-improvement was all around you, but you just weren't ready. No.
I've
Man,
never heard that. No, I've never heard that.
Dude, no, no chance. And I'm looking back and I'm reevaluating, and I have a really good memory. I'm
searching
telling you,
for it.
no. Emilia's like, yeah, in hindsight, my mom and dad, they really did try to explain that to me. I'm sitting there going, nope. No. No one ever tried to explain that to me. Right? And so again, I know some people are resonating with this and some people are not. In book club, we said 0 to 10. Where are you at for your childhood being conscious parents that are emotionally involved and understand psychological impact and developmental processes and how to, create a psychologically safe environment to grow and flourish, but also challenge you enough to actually have growth, right? And some people were 0 was not so good and 10 was, the best parents maybe ever of all time. And we had some interesting numbers.
I was going to say, I'm guessing 0 probably wasn't not so good. I'm probably guessing it was the worst it could be.
Yeah.
At least on that scale, right?
Yeah, I had a low number. But anyway, so at the end of the day, which one of these 3 buckets are you in? Are you in bucket 1, which is achievement feels fairly easy and you think within reason, you feel like you're going to have a successful career and you feel like you believe in yourself quite a bit in terms of achievement? The second bucket is you feel a little uncertain, a lack of certainty in your long-term career and your finances, but you feel like you can hang out at a barbecue no problem, fit in easily. Or the third one where you feel not only alone and like you don't belong, but also like a lot of uncertainty with your career as well. And I really want to say this too. I wonder to myself, I've always wondered this, and I want to ask you because I don't want to come off as pretentious. I always wondered why people's career wasn't more important to them. To me, like your career is the majority of your existence. Like everyone out there, like you're going to work, like if you run the math on this, you're going to work the majority of your life. The hours you're on planet Earth and awake, okay? You're going to work most of it. Unless you have generational wealth and your family gives you money and or you have investments that pay dividends, blah, blah, blah. But like the majority of us are going to work most of our life. Why isn't career more of a focal point? Like I'm genuinely asking because for me, I've never not contemplated my career,
I can speak to my existence. Lack of belief. I didn't feel like I was in control. Couple things. 1, lack of belief. 2, lack of interest. It's really hard for a human to get really good at something and climb in something that they hate. Most people. I think that's like it's hard to succeed at something that you just are trying to survive. So many people are just trying to survive their jobs.
So this is the doom loop for anyone who feels uncertain about career. The doom loop is I feel uncertain about my career. Therefore, it's painful to focus on. Therefore, I don't brainstorm and strategize. Therefore, I'm even more uncertain. And it's just this doom loop of feeling stuck constantly. Whereas the other loop of the uncertainty in relationships is I don't feel like I can be myself around my friends and family and my intimate partners. Relationships. So I'm going to dim who I am down and I can't sustain that because now I'm loved for a version of me that's not real. And then I'm going to make up for that with achievement, which makes it even worse. Oh God.
Well, I think the whole thing is you have to be honest with yourself about what matters. So, okay, if I don't fit in with my family, if I am fully myself, if I'm the full authentic version of myself, I will not fit in with my family. Okay. Let's say that's a fact. And you now, after however many years, whether you're watching or listening, whatever your experience has been, now you know that. Now what do? Is it more valuable and more important to you to stay in 100% alignment or see your family? Let's figure out what those percentages are, and then everything from there is personal and up to you.
Yeah.
That is...
The problem is none of this was conscious until... and I in our mid-20s with the Hyperconscious podcast.
Yes.
Like we weren't doing this consciously.
No, but now hopefully anybody watching or listening can take the delay and the amount of time it took us and say like, okay, this is the question. On a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you feel you can be yourself around your family? Start there. Start there. On a scale of 0 to 10, how in control of your career do you feel? Start there. And then from there, then you figure out, okay, well, what do you need? Would you standing up to your family increase your self-worth? Awesome. Do you just need to spend less time with your family because they suck? And this is the other thing too. It's okay to think that. It's okay to think that your family's
it's
not
important
great
to
for
think
you.
that if that's true.
If that's true, yeah.
I'm
it
thinking
doesn't
of one
make
person
you
whose family is awful. And
Yeah.
I'll keep it anonymous, but they're awful human beings. They just shit on her constantly. And I told her, I said, you cannot achieve your goals and spend a lot of time with them. They're going to constantly demoralize
you're just hurting yourself thinking like, oh yeah, no, they're really if they're really good, what expectation does that set up for the rest of your life and the relationships?
Yeah,
you're just going to
that's
accept,
the problem.
right? You're going to accept.
You're going to accept.
Hard thing for sure.
Yeah.
Hard thing. But just like if you say, yeah, you know what? I don't maybe 1 out of 10 in terms of my own self-belief and my belief in my competence to achieve a career, it's good to know. It's good to know because not knowing isn't going to change it.
Yeah,
it's going to make it worse.
Everything starts with acceptance.
It does.
It's not, hey, I'm going to pretend I'm better than I am, or I'm going to pretend my family's better than they are. I'm going to accept the fact that I'm not likable naturally, and I'm going to surround myself with people that I know will value who I am. That's my side. Kevin's side is I'm going to accept the fact that I'm not naturally a gifted, career-oriented, conscientious, goal achiever man, bear pig. And silly South Park reference from way back in the day. But it's acceptance. Accepting who you are. I think one of the biggest breakthroughs for me was realizing that I was jealous of how likable Kevin is. There was a moment, I forget when it was. I wish I had a freaking story for this. But there was a moment where I was like, am I jealous of him being liked? Because I feel like it's so hard for me to be liked. But you were jealous, and you owned this too, of I'm so much more respected in certain rooms than you are. You're never going to be the guy in the hors d'oeuvre room or whatever. And
screw you if you won't invite me to the hors d'oeuvre room. If you're out there.
The
Shame
private
on
island
you.
parties.
Shame on you.
Oh, God. So the networking events and all that kind of stuff,
Yeah, nobody's going to hire me to come speak to their engineering school. That's not going to happen anytime soon. 50 years, maybe they'll be like, how did you do it? I'll be like, you're asking the right guy. Let me tell you. Take a seat. Bring out your pencils and we're not going to be using pencils and paper in 50 years probably. We're using some
virtual reality.
Close your eyes and write into your brain as I say it.
Yeah, and throw on your VR goggles. But that's ultimately, I had to accept and lean in, again, back to the last episode, lean into that I'm not naturally likable, which will make me probably more likable. Because there's this, we're watching the X-Men movie series, and there's this scene with Mystique. She's the blue character who can change into other characters. Jennifer Lawrence plays her.
Jennifer Lawrence, okay.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a scene with Magneto where he says she basically hates being blue. She hates being different. And all the mutants do. They want to be, normal or whatever. And that's why it's such a cool series, I think. Is each mutant is super unique, and they have to accept their uniqueness before they can use their uniqueness for good. I think that's a really cool thing. But she's lifting weights in this school, and Magneto comes by and says, if you were your blue self, you wouldn't have to focus on being this other person while you lift weights. You'd be stronger. And then she switches to blue, and then she's much stronger. She can bench more in this scene. And he looks at her and says, see, you want the world to accept you, but you don't even accept yourself. And I was like, oh, not right now.
Too soon, too close.
Yeah, who knew? But that's the truth, is you got to accept all of who you are and first, and then grow from that.
Yeah, isn't it weird? I feel like I'm in a mood where I could do a 12-hour podcast right now. And the whiskey's just hitting me. It's just starting to hit me. I'm kidding. Isn't it weird how sometimes the only way there's two ways to make yourself whole. Be more of your strengths or less of your weaknesses? Like if you want to be like a whole capable human, that's
Or
why
both.
it's so hard to figure that out. Or both. If you could be
And every strength comes with a weakness, so that makes it
every
even
strength,
more hard.
for sure. If you could be an X-Men or an X-Men, they're called X-Men, but there's women. If you could be one of them, who would it be?
Ooh, Emilia and I just talked about that.
So I expect you'll have a valuable answer with a great lesson in the story. Let's see.
Yeah, it would
No.
probably be the ability to pause time.
No. That's
That's
not what
what-
I fucking asked
Hey,
you.
that's what Professor Xavier can do. He can pause time.
Which one is he? The bald dude?
Yeah.
Guess who I would want to be?
Wolverine.
Wolverine. Yeah.
Of course.
Steroids and all. Allegedly. Allegedly.
Allegedly.
No, that would
Dude's
be
63.
Imagine
I'm
having claws for hands. Ooh. Also the Juggernaut. He's an X-Man, right?
Yes,
He's so big. My thing, this is the other thing too. We've had conversations before and like on the team stuff, and I think on other podcasts, people say like, if you could have any skill, what would like any superhero trait, what would it be? And Alan's like, man, I really like the ability to pause time so I could stay in a moment with Emilia forever. I'm like, Kev, what about you? It's like, fuck that. I want to be the Incredible Hulk. That's what I want. I want to be the Incredible Hulk. That would be awesome.
Superhuman strength.
But for a long time, it was like, I don't know. What's my deeply meaningful thing that people respect? I don't have that. It's not who I am. Again, I love Taryn deeply.
You gotta own it.
I would love to pause time and spend every moment for the rest of time with her. But if a bus falls on her, that ain't gonna help. Somebody's got to lift the bus. I want it to be me.
You funny, man. That's
all
good.
right. What's the takeaway before we get out of here?
It's I used to think self-improvement was change to try to be better. I think it's accept who you are first and then use self-improvement to become more of that, a better version of that.
I would concur. What would I say? Yeah, the reason there's no piece of advice that I think can help everybody at the same time is because your growth is different. For some of us out there, your growth, the thing that gets you to the next level, is doing more of what you're doing and being more of you in the right ways. And I think for other people, it's doing less of what you're doing and being more of you. I think those are two very, very different, convoluted things.
Real quick.
No, you said your last thing.
No. Real quick. Sorry. Real quick.
Yeah.
If you're out there, this is a permission opportunity. I just want to help you give yourself permission. Amy, when she came on the team, Amy Lenius, she said, you guys give so much permission when you're together because you're both so different, which I appreciate. I didn't even know what the hell that word meant. I didn't know what she meant by that originally. Now I do. I have some clients that I've talked to and said, like, the goals you've set, you're not going to achieve them without changing so much about who you really are. Like, I said this to one of my clients recently. I said, you're not really all in on anything. I said, Kevin and I would die for this. I've seen it in his eyes. Look
For
at
sure.
you, just immediately like 100%.
Zero,
Zero
Taryn,
question.
and this. Those
Yeah.
are the two.
Same. That is an all-in thing. You can't have all-in results without being all in. And I'm not saying you should be that level of all-in. I mean, that's not for everyone,
Right.
for obvious reasons. So I have a couple clients I'm thinking of right now that are not super dialed in. They're not super concerned about it. But yet they have these goals that require them to be. And one of my clients said this. They said, yeah, but society values all in. I said, I know. I just happen to be an all-inner. I can't be. I've tried half in. It doesn't work. I can't even play Call of Duty with Kev because I'm going to end up trying to get to the top charts. Seriously. I had to dial it back. It was I almost got sucked in once in the studio. I was like, I can't. I got to go.
I was watching Call of Duty content. He's like, dude,
I
can you
gotta
turn
get
this
outta
off,
here,
please?
Yeah. I got to get.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah,
man.
business is going to go out of business, and we're going to end up pro gamers. And by we, I mean me. I'm kidding.
The business was already hinging on going out of business because I was ordering breakfast every single day. Every day. It was awesome.
Shout out to, what is it? Lucky's?
They went out of business, unfortunately.
Went out of business. Of course
Shout out
they
to
did.
Lucky's.
You were keeping them in business.
I
so-
left.
Yeah, you left. But the last thing is, for those people, if you feel like you have to change who you are in your essence, your core, in order to achieve your goals, can it? Can it? You're going to be more fulfilled. It doesn't mean you can't be the best version of yourself. It just means you shouldn't be shooting for the same thing as someone who's wired for that. And I really want to give that permission. Just like on the other side of this coin, if someone's not for you in a relationship, you got to own that too. Because if you feel like what I used to feel, if I have to go over here and be this guy in order to make this work and then come back over here to be in alignment, I mean, that's just a deeply unfulfilling life. Own who you are, and if you have to adjust your relationships and your goals to do that, I'm all for it.
I'm going to add one thing because I refuse to let you say the last thing. And you're not, this is no take backsies, okay? This is it. This is the last thing that's going to get said.
Got it.
I believe that the mark of a good coach is not only somebody who helps you get the goals that you aim for, they're also somebody who helps you opt out of a game that you shouldn't be playing in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's exactly what you're talking about. All right, cool. If you're looking for a good coach, I am the best in the world. No, Alan is a wonderful coach. My goal.
I knew you were going to do that.
My goal, genuinely.
Whenever you have a big pause, I know there's a humdinger coming.
It always depends. It depends on how I'm feeling. The whiskey's coursing through my veins like the salmon of the Capistrano right now. I told Alan this the other day, and I'm kidding about the whiskey thing. My goal is to be the best testimonial ever for Alan's coaching, and I think I can do it because nobody will ever be able to work with Alan as long as I have because I started sooner. So that's my thought. So I don't know, if you're not impressed with me, totally understandable. Totally understandable. But if in any way, shape, or form you think I'm good at anything, a lot of that has to do with Alan. So we'll have his link in the show notes for a free 30-minute breakthrough session. I'm the podcast guy. I do podcast breakthrough sessions. Next Level Dreamliner on Amazon. Mine is still in the mail because we have author copies. I am literally jonesing because I can't use it every day. It's very sad. I am still giving myself credit for it, though, because I am doing it in my mind palace. And Next Level Nation, a private Facebook group for amazing people like you who are into growth, where if you can join a group where you are actually valued, that is what this Facebook group is all about. As
no
always,
bullies allowed.
Excuse me?
No bullies allowed.
Never. No, you'll get the boot. You're not a bully, so you wouldn't be listening to this and then join and bully. But if somebody bullies, they're getting the boot. We don't mess around with that. As always, oh, for fuck's sake. You know what I mean?
I do.
Anything else?
No, that's it.
Okay, gonna test you, make sure. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we don't have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Keep it next level. Next Level Nation.